think Mark's a little wrong here. I don't think he quite understands reform and the value of life quite like he thinks he does. If he's not allowing people to pay for their mistakes. Welcome to the Weekly Fix podcast, where we're just two friends talking about our passions within movies, TV shows, gaming, and comics. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We hope you like it. Hello and welcome to your Weekly Fix. We have a outstanding episode planned for you guys. We get to talk about our most hype show of the year, almost. Jacob's most hype, mine right up there at the top, and we got the Invincible Season 3 drop this last week. We got 3 episodes, and we are so excited to talk about that. But that's not all, because we also had the Super Bowl. And with the Super Bowl comes some announcements, some trailers, some sneak peeks at some things. So we also get that to talk about. And then we have a new Marvel movie coming this week. So we are going to just talk a little bit about that. And we've got it all here for you right here on the Weekly Fix. Before we get into it, as always, we've got to check on how our hosts are doing. Jacob, how are you doing?
Doing even better now that Invincible is back into my life. I feel like that hole that I had in my heart for a while has just been fixed with just Invincible goodness, all the blood and the gore. It's really just brought me to a better place in life. But no, I'm super excited. We have lots of stuff to talk about. We're super pumped for Captain America: Brave New World. I know it's one of those movies that we're hesitant to get super excited about, but I think just the idea of going back to the movies, like our first time in the movies in 2025. Well, at least for me, I don't know if you've been this year.
I haven't been.
Yeah, so first time back in the theater is going to be really fun. We have our first Thursday viewing together as well. Neither of us have ever gone together on a Thursday viewing, so that'll be really fun getting to experience that. Hopefully it's a packed out theater, but no, it's been great so far this week.
Yeah, and we could have some more Weekly Fix fam going with us, but Peyton decided to go by himself in Gainesville instead of joining the Weekly Fix crew. So that's thanks, Peyton. Shout out for that.
Zane, I don't think he likes us.
I don't think so
that's
either.
The problem.
I'm curious.
Because he had to have known we were going to go see the movie. And, he made an executive decision that he said, you know what, I'm not going with those sleazeball, scumbag losers, podcast hosts. I'm going to go by myself so I can actually enjoy the movie. I don't want to listen to their criticisms and their complaints. But, yeah.
No, actually what he was like, he's like, I'm not going to a movie with those guys again until I come back on the show. And then I'll go.
Well, he did make a proposition to us, so we'll have to talk about it in a future episode.
Absolutely.
But
we'll have you back on here very shortly, Peyton. I promise.
Maybe. I don't know. He set a precedent now that he doesn't want to be our friend anymore. So.
Oh man, I love it. But yeah, I'm very excited about Captain America. I don't really have too much to talk about with Captain America. I think I want to save all of that for next week. We did get another trailer, which I didn't watch in full. I saw some clips and I was like, you know what? This may be just a little bit too much. The week before the film, I'm going to hold out and not watch these and try to get the best viewing. Because honestly, the last few trailers, sometimes they leak so much. I remember Endgame leaked like the end battle the week after the movie came out, which was insane. Like the new trailers had like rescue on it going like in the end battle, which I thought was insane. Like the movie's been out for a week and you're already spoiling the end.
Well, do you remember during like the Endgame, like the week of Endgame, how many leaks came out before the movie even got announced? Like people were like literally seeing like, all right, guys, go ahead and give a spoiler warning just in case, but because I don't want to be that guy after we're talking about leaks and stuff. But I remember like people sending pictures of the Iron Man snap and like little GIFs and stuff like that, and I was like mind blown that stuff was like getting leaked. So I remember I had my phone on like lockdown. Like if I saw like anything, I was like scroll past really quick and stuff like that. So I agree. I think it's when you get this close to a movie, why release another trailer? I mean, we're a week out, not even at this point. We are in the week of the movie. There's simply no reason to have any more trailers. But I didn't watch this one either, so I don't think we're missing out though.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you don't think we're missing out. But yeah, no, it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a great time. Now, one that I do want to talk a little bit about, and just a touch, is the Thunderbolts, which did get a new trailer, which showed us a ton more about the movie. And I could not be more pleased. Jacob, how are you feeling about the Thunderbolts trailer?
So I enjoyed it, but for me personally, it didn't push the needle any further for me. Like I almost was so excited with like the first trailer we got. I almost wish we wouldn't have gotten another one. And I know we're probably going to get another two or three leading up to the movie. But I think that was so much of my excitement with this movie coming out was what is it going to be about? What is the precedent going to be? And we started to get a little bit more of that with this trailer, which is good. I think they do obviously have to show us some of that type of stuff. But for me, it's still at that same excitement level. I'm still super pumped for this movie. It did definitely reestablish some more of that like dark, gritty tone that I think we're going to be getting with it, which is really fun. So I'm excited for this one. Again, I didn't think it was a bad trailer by any means, but I'm still at the exact same excitement level for this. I think this is going to be a big movie for Marvel, and I think it's going to surprise a lot of fans.
Okay, so it definitely revealed some stuff for me. And it kind of worries me, it kind of excites me. I don't know what all it's gonna do, but there were some leaks earlier, and so I'm gonna go a little bit. I know we just talked about leaks for movies, but I am gonna talk about something that we've heard. So if you don't want to know anything about Thunderbolts, go ahead and click to the next timestamp. I always put those down in the description. So if you're listening on Apple Podcast, you can look in the description and see the timestamp. Or if you're on Spotify, you can just go ahead and click that, and it'll take you to the next segment. But the Sentry has Void, which is his alter personality that is evil. And instead of it being an evil superhero, they're gonna make it a location and a place, and they went heavy on that in this trailer. So I'm very interested to see how they incorporate that into his story, how the how much of the story takes place in what they're calling the void.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but it definitely, I think this one up the ante a lot. We see a bent Captain America shield. We see some amazing looking fight scenes, and an incredibly credible threat. The lack of the Avengers, just so good to see people getting second chances and trying to redeem themselves, not because they're forced to, but because they want to redeem themselves. They want to be heroes. So I don't know. This really hyped me up for Thunderbolts even more than I already would. My most anticipated Marvel film of the year, and I got more amped for it because of this trailer. I think they did a great job framing this one.
Yeah, I think overall it was like a perfect trailer. I think they did all the things they needed to do. They showed us enough of the villain and enough of the idea of the storyline that we're gonna get that I was pleased with that. But like it kind of goes back to what we were just saying. Like I hope we don't get too much more of it. Like, and I know we're gonna get another trailer because we still have I forget the exact release date for this movie, but we're
I think it's
obviously
like
gonna have
May
another.
5th.
Yeah, so we're probably going to have at the very least, one more trailer. And I really hope that one does not give us too much more. Like, if we only get the two trailers that we've gotten so far, I think that's perfect. Like, that's how much I want from a movie is two trailers. Let them kind of almost show us the same thing and give us a few little sneak peeks at some different things, which I think this one did very well. So I think this one just kind of more so reiterated the fact that it's just going to be a really solid movie.
Yeah, I'd say we get one more trailer that has pretty much recycled footage from the
Mm-hmm.
first two, and then that's pretty much all we'll see. But man, yeah, what do you think about our little sneak peek at Century? Did you? I don't know. What do you think?
I think it looks awesome. I'm interested to see how much they do play on the void thing, kind of like you were just mentioning. Like, are we going to spend most of the movie there? Is it going to be something that we have for the entire movie? Like, are we going to get to see like just the good side of Sentry? Like, is he going to show up in some form or fashion? Is there going to be that multiverse influence in this movie, which I'm really not expecting? But I feel like at this point, we've talked about it a little bit in the past. Like, Fantastic Four is something we just talked about that we were like, all right, they got to get the ball moving with this multiverse stuff if we want to lead up to the big Avengers, Secret Wars, and Doomsday, right? I feel like every Marvel movie at this point really kind of has to start pushing that a little bit. So I'm interested to see what kind of role that plays. And I feel like that could be where we get like maybe some different versions of Sentry. And correct me if I'm wrong, don't we see in the first trailer, like, because the Void Sentry, he looks a little different than the good Sentry that we usually see. Didn't we see the good Sentry's like belt buckle, like the S? in the first trailer?
So we did see it, but it wasn't on.
Okay. Well,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
like
He was
a
just, it was like
case
on
or
the
something.
floor.
Yeah,
Yeah, or
yeah, yeah.
something like that. So that leads me to believe like maybe we're going to get both versions in this movie, which might be pretty cool. And maybe he ultimately becomes part of the Thunderbolts in some
Oh,
form or fashion. So
we'll definitely get both versions.
yeah, so I'm interested to see how that plays. Like, what type of is it going to be like the majority of the movie? Are we going to get like just this all out battle between those two? Because really, the power levels would be the only thing that made sense for those. Or are we going to get to see the Thunderbolts that we do know, like Bucky, Elena, and all of them? Are they going to have an opportunity to showcase their ability to maybe go toe to toe with someone like Sentry? So I like the aspect of it. I'm excited that we're getting it. I thought the visuals of the Void and him turning the people to like shadows and stuff. I thought that looked really really cool.
No, I definitely thought that looked really good. And there's so much that we could get here and unpack. But I think I'm gonna leave it here. Uh, because
Well,
that we have so much to get to with Invincible and the other trailers. But boy, am I excited for this one. They really nailed it.
the one thing I'm interested about is obviously this is taking place in New York, and I saw someone make a post. So, where's Daredevil going to be in this movie? Is he going to make any appearances? Is something going to happen in the show that maybe doesn't allow for him to be there? Like, I think that's the exciting thing about Marvel right now is because we know they are starting to have to build up to something. All these projects coming out, we're like, well, how are they going to connect them all? And we know they're going to in some way. And I'm excited to just kind of see how that plays out. So, honestly, knowing that information and like wondering where he's going to be, that's gotten me more excited for Daredevil coming out.
And I definitely can see that for sure. That's one of the problems. You said it doesn't need to be invincible. Not man, lost it. It doesn't need to be multiverse, right? Or it could be
Mm-hmm.
like there's a little bit going on there. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit that could be a street level establishment and what's going
Yep.
on with that, which I also think could be very very crucial to moving forward. That these characters, they even mention in it that they like no one does anything but punch and shoot, which I thought was hilarious. A
Yeah.
great line to drop in a trailer, but that's really cool to kind of see like, hey, we have to establish some of this,
Groundwork, essentially.
groundwork. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So no, I think this trailer executed very well. So I think as far as like a new trailer could have gone, this is probably the best we could have gotten.
Yeah, and I would completely agree with that. But yeah. So another new trailer that we got. And before we talk about the new trailer, I do want to give we did talk to some people and they saw one of our weekly fix shirts. We do have some merch. If you guys didn't know, you don't stick around till the end of the show, you click off early. We do have some merch. The link to that merch is in our description. If you want to pick up a hat, you want to pick up a shirt, pretty customizable. We work with Lindsay. She does a wonderful job. So if you want to go in there and click on that link for merch, you can pick yourself up a weekly fix hat, a weekly fix shirt, and you're supporting a great local business with Lindsay. She is awesome. So if you want to do that, a link is in the description, and then you can also connect with us in any of the ways with Discord, Instagram if you want to reach out to us. But moving on, we got the new trailer for F1. Now we had like a very tiny sneak peek of this movie last summer, which was crazy early to drop a sneak peek of anything. But it's the new oh IndyCar. It's not IndyCar. It's F1. That's the series. I was trying to
I
think
was
of
gonna
what
try to
the
help you
name.
out there, but I didn't really know where you were going. So I was like, I'll let him work his way around this one.
Uh, F1 movie starring Brad Pitt, and this we got a sneak peek of this trailer, and I think it looked great. Very very exciting. Gave me a bunch. We just watched it together before the podcast, and you said gave you Ford versus Ferrari vibes, which I couldn't agree with more. I love that movie. It is very special to me. An amazing car film, and I think this one might be swinging for the fences as a kind of a sneak peek of like or a what is it, like a underdog at a big box office, pulling in a bunch of people. It looks like this is a movie that will have an amazing theatrical experience. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can't really replicate those sounds any other way other than in a theater. So I think that's got me super excited. The first thing I said was Netflix has got to be upset about this, right? Like we just talked about it a little bit before the podcast. I mean, they're kind of really what got F1, I feel like, in homes for the most part. Obviously, it was a big sport and lots of money was already involved in all those things. But you really saw the sport kind of blow up and more people get interested in it when they started doing their Drive to Survive series. And the fact that this is like an Apple movie, I think that's hilarious. Like, they have to be a little bit bitter about that. But I agree. I think it was crazy that they did drop the announcement and like a little bit of a teaser type thing last summer. But looking at the trailer that we did get, it looks like it was time well spent because visually it looks incredible. Even just listening to it through my headphones right before the podcast, it did sound really good. Obviously, it looks like they got a lot of star power there because they don't only have Brad Pitt, but there's a few of the actual F1 drivers there. Some of the crew chiefs pits that I saw were all accurate. They had the actual crew chief pits or crew chiefs and all those things there. So looks like it's going to be a really solid movie, and I agree. I think this is one, if you're gonna watch it, you got to go to the theater just to kind of get that whole experience, the sound, the visuals, all that. It's definitely going to shine in a theater.
Yeah, I and for sure will shine in a theater, and I think this one's going to be. I think this is going to be a solid film. Very very happy that we watched that one. Got me a little bit more excited for it. I am disappointed I left that one off of the yearly rundown of what was coming out. I just looked right over it because that totally fell off my radar. Uh, and it didn't like spring any like remembrance of what the movie was when I was looking through my list and prepping for it. But yeah, that's gonna be good. And then the last three, we did get three other trailers during the Super Bowl, and that was we got a little sneak peek at Stitch, which I thought was really fun, cute animation. Him on the field looks great. He looks awesome. I think they did a really good job with the live adaptation. I think they really learned from Sonic and really went, you know,
Yeah,
let's stay
let's actually make it
true to the
cute.
content. Yeah, let's stay true to the content, make it cute, animate it, but live action. So that was good. We got a Mission Impossible, the Final Reckoning trailer, which is more of the same. If you've seen a Mission Impossible trailer, I feel like you could probably visualize what this is. Just age Tom Cruise a little bit and get him, running and
Oh, he's gonna have a running scene. He's
and he's
gonna
hanging
have
off
that
a
running
plane.
scene.
Ever since
Yep.
he hung
Oh,
off that
always
one
hanging
plane,
off
he's gonna
something.
like, I gotta hang off another plane. Gotta step it up, which I think is hilarious. And then we got our official full length trailer for How to Train Your Dragon, which looks like a shot for shot remake of the animated, which looks great. I'm sure it'll be a pretty decent film. It still does kind of ring true to the like, why do we need the remake if it's a shot for shot? But also like you don't want to mess up, an amazing film and not do it and be like, so just one of those other points where you're like, I don't really know why we're doing this,
Mhm.
but it does look good. I think they did a good job with the dragon design and with Burke. I think it looks good. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what that movie is if they change anything. I think they are going shot for shot 100%. I don't think they're wanting to change a single thing, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was one of those things. You don't fix what's already, or don't fix what's broken, right? Like, or you got what I'm saying. Don't. I'll get there eventually.
Don't
But
break
yeah,
what's
yeah,
good.
yeah. Don't
Don't
mess with it. You got
don't
the
step on
formula
a
there already. Just leave it be. So that makes sense for that for sure.
yeah, for sure. But something that has an incredible formula that I am just itching to talk about. We got 3 episodes of Invincible, baby. And Jacob, I want to know, what did you think?
Dude, it was just so awesome. And it's one of those things, like, I was so excited when we were getting 3 episodes. When I finished those 3 episodes, I was almost like, man, we're almost already halfway through the season. Why did they give us all three right now? Because I don't want it to end as soon as we got it back. But that just, I think, is just prevalent of how good the show really is. I mean, this was such an incredible getting us back into the Invincible world, throwing us right back into the story, right? They didn't waste no time. Start getting right back into building up what the next big threat is going to be, which is super exciting. And I think they just hit the nail right on the head. I talked about it a little bit. We're going to break down the episodes a little bit. I think episode 2 might have been the best episode of the entire series so far. It's definitely right up there with the tops if it's not the best. So when you're already 2 episodes in, or 3 episodes in, and one of those is contending for the best episode of the series, I think you're off to a great start. So I'm super excited to continue to see how this season plays out. I know you got some theories you want to talk about, but yeah, this has been such an enjoyable experience to have Invincible back.
Yeah, and so I do want to give a spoiler warning, guys. If you have not watched Invincible, or you are interested in it, again, I do give a content rating warning. This is not for the faint of heart. I know this is animated, but it is very gruesome. It is very gory, and there is language and some other themes in it. So just heads up, if you're gonna watch it, just know that it is a very adult animated show. So definitely just a heads up of that. But with no further ado, here is a full spoiler talk about Invincible season 3. But man, it was so good. It was so good. You talked about episode 2 being the best one, or potentially not the best one, the potentially the best episode we got of Invincible, and it is in the conversation. I do not think it can compare to We Need to Talk, just because of the emotional weight that was built up the entire season for that finale. But I agree, it was very, very good. We got some symbolism that reflected some of the first season, which I'm interested to see to talk about. And we got a bunch of Cecil's backstory, which I didn't know I wanted to watch, but I definitely enjoyed it. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this is really good. I'm glad we're getting more of Cecil, kind of getting to peel off the mask to kind of see like who he is
Literally.
behind the scenes. Yeah, little pun intended there, right? Like, to kind of see where he came from and how good he used to be, right?
Yeah.
Because he used to be the good guy, but now he's not. Now, I wanted to talk and ask you, what do you think about Darkwing and the little animatronic mechs being used? Who do you think is in the right there? I just want to throw that out there first thing.
Well, I think the first thing to really establish here is you kind of hinted at Cecil not really being the good guy anymore, and I think that's what makes this season so fun. Is because is he the good guy or is he not? Like, he does make some really, really good points. In the world that he is currently living in, he is powerless, right? He does have to find these tools and these weapons that he can use to keep Earth safe. And I think that's the thing that really kind of separates him from actually becoming that villain and still keeping him on that good side, is the fact that it is evident that he is doing what he thinks is best to protect Earth. And it kind of gives me, I'm not comparing the two, but there are some Nick Fury vibes to it that I thought were really cool and some really things to put together. Like, Nick Fury, obviously, I don't think he would go to the lengths that Cecil has done, but the way his mind thinks and the way he is kind of, I'm relying on other people because I can't do it myself, but I am going to have to do as much as I can to get things to bend the way I need them to. And so I thought that was really fun, and it's going to be really great to kind of continue to explore Cecil's backstory. I don't know that we'll get necessarily another episode of that, which, we talked on it a little bit. That's the perfect way to do a backstory. We don't need a whole episode. Give us 20 minutes of this episode, really flesh out a character in that amount of time. Let us know where he came from and understand why he's at where he is now. I think that was perfect. But I think it's smart. Like, is it morally correct? No, probably not. But does it make sense in the world in which he is living in to use these people that, the animatronics, the guy that makes them, his name is slipping my mind right now, but he is a genius, right? To be able to do the things that he does and make these animatronics as strong as they are, you're going to need something like that. And they literally, he used them to save Invincible. Invincible wouldn't have been anymore if it weren't for those animatronics. And then we see something with Darkwing, right? yeah, Darkwing's done some terrible things, but he also does have a really great power. I mean, you heard them talk about in Crime City, I think is what the name of the city that he's from. He like eliminated crime in a place that was one of the darkest, worst places to be in. And obviously, did he have to do some killing to do that? Yeah, but he was doing things that he thought were the right thing to do. And those are people that I think you can, Cecil's words, reform and use. So I understand where he's coming from, and I don't necessarily think he's wrong for what he's doing, but the show does a really, really good job of almost making you hate him, which I think just speaks more volumes to the writing.
Yeah, I what's funny is my distaste for Cecil is different than using Sinclair and Darkwing. Like, using Sinclair to do good, I think is like he says, like, should we not try to rehabilitate these guys? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's hilarious because, our prison system here in America is broken, right? People go into prison and they come out just as broken as they were, if not more so. It's so difficult to get a job after prison. It's so difficult to be introduced into society. You get marked for life. You served your time, and then you serve a life of being marked as a
Mm-hmm.
criminal. And so I'm actually a little bit with Team Cecil here with using these guys. Like, hey, like, let's put them on a leash. Like, let's give them a chance to redeem themselves. Like, putting their life in jail, you might as well just shoot them in the head. Like,
Yep.
if they are only allowed to be in prison for life, then why are they even living? Like, that life is not precious. But if you think that life can be redeemable, that you think that, like, there's a chance for people to change and for people to do good after they've made these great mistakes, like, I don't know, man. I like he's on a short lease. He's got them under control. They are definitely working, and if they don't, if they step out of line, I'm sure they're gonna take. He's gonna take care of it. So I'm actually a little with Cecil on this point. Now, where I'm not with Cecil is throwing a sonic weapon inside of Mark's head. I am not okay with that in the slightest. I think that is definitely crossing a line. If you want to create a weapon to use just in case, but to implant one in someone's head without them knowing, that is not okay. And then using it, right? So that was really intense. But yeah, I think Mark's a little wrong here. I don't think he quite understands reform and the value of life quite like he thinks he does.
Yeah.
If he's not allowing people you know, to pay for their mistakes.
And I think that's the great thing about Invincible as a character is he does think that he has everything figured out. He does think he understands what is good and what is wrong. But those are the things that are clearly evident that he doesn't. I mean, how many times do we see superheroes that don't kill want to see the people that they don't kill get reformed? That's like the whole point of not killing them is so that they can be used for society and they can actually be a benefit. And so I think that's been a really fun dynamic to experience. And I think it's something he is going to have to come to understand. But if anything, right? Like the fact that Cecil went to the links to do what he did to Invincible by implanting that weapon in his head, Invincible, if you think about it, was on a leash. You kind of feel a little bit better about Darkwing and Sinclair being on a leash, also, right? Like Cecil's
Oh
got
yeah.
the most powerful superhero in the world, according to literally Robot Rudy says so. He's gonna have these other little guys figured out as well. So I think that was one thing I was like, you know what? I feel a little bit more confident in Cecil's plans and his abilities to do what he needs to do.
Yeah, and it's so funny because at the end of season 2, we talk so much about Cecil not having it together. Like he's not quite where he should be in order to be running things. He was depending too heavily on Mark, and now it seems like he is in complete and total control, exactly where he wants to be, even with Mark stepping out. So I
Mm-hmm.
think I think Cecil is back on his A game, which I like to see. I like to see him fully competent and comfortable where he's at. When the most powerful superhero in the world has you by the neck and you don't even like flinch, like you don't question, you don't back down, you don't show any fear like at all. That's pretty dope. That's pretty gangster. Like he had a great moment there, and he did it twice in these 2 episodes, which I thought was pretty great.
Well, I think that's the other thing, though, that also proves more so where he's coming from, right? Once he did lose that leash that he had on Mark, it was game over. I mean, we see it multiple times. We see it when, Oliver is getting talked to by Cecil. Once Mark shows up, he's got Cecil by the throat, right? He has no ability to even match it. So I really like that. I'm interested to see what Cecil does. He's got to have another ace up his sleeve that he hasn't really revealed to Mark yet as to a way to counter if Mark really did go rogue and try to do what his dad did. I'd like to see what Cecil has to do there because he's kind of proven that he has all these little tips and tricks that he hasn't revealed to everybody yet. I think one of my favorite scenes is when they go into the White Room and he explains why it's his protection from Mark. I mean, I love that. Like, so
So
Cecil's got a
good.
lot of cool things going on that I don't think we've had a chance to see yet, but I think we're definitely going to get to see more of his tricks throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that he is not done. It was fun to see in episode one him kind of scrambling to kind of get some stuff that Omni Man was weak to. You know, he got the kaiju that gave him a fight, and he went and picked him up and utilized him to potentially be some, you know, security measures,
Yep.
some safety for Omni Man. And so I'm curious what else he's been developing. We saw it in season two. Obviously, he got the Kraken sound waves for Mark. Hey, that neutralized the kid. Like, let's see, like what else we can do. Which that's wonderful to know that he has that sound map, so that potentially we could use that against the Viltrumites that are
Mm-hmm.
coming. If we don't start making weapons that produce that sound and use them against incoming Viltrumites, I don't know what's going on. So that's that's something. But what did you think about Doc Seismic reappearance?
I personally was like, I don't understand why he's become such a threat in this episode. I did not like that at all. Like, I was like, I understand it. And I also did like the way that they did make it work, right? And I'll kind of reference it back to Marvel. It kind of was like in Civil War, right? We don't see what's his name that ends up dividing Captain America and Iron Man. It ends up them being in themselves and their own choices that get to that conclusion. So I think they did utilize Doc Seismic in a way that made sense. I was just kind of like, if anything, I wish we would have got a different villain, right? We've seen Doc Seismic so much, and every time he somehow seems to outwit everybody, and everyone's like, how does this guy keep doing it? Which I guess that's kind of funny and part of maybe the trope of his character. Ultimately, I was like, I could do without Doc Seismic, but I did really like the way that they did use him to kind of get to where we ended off with episode 3.
Yeah, I I was fine with him. I think it kind of shows the blaring hole in Mark's theory, right? He was just in prison. They weren't trying to do with anything. They locked him in a cage, and he came back worse. So like there was no reform there for Doc Seismic. They didn't
Yeah.
like, and I think it's funny. Like you think of Lilo and Stitch, right? And when uh, when Lilo finds an alien, she finds where they fit, where they work. It'd be cool to get Doc Seismic. He's excavating like land mines and exploring and like digging and like you could use him. If you could just like train him a little bit. Get Cecil to use him for good. So I think that kind of like pokes some holes in Mark's ideology. And then also like the only thing I did not like about episode one, and I don't even care about the Doc Seismic stuff. I think he is a fun character. I think it's funny. I like that he's not super powerful and that he doesn't pose an incredible threat. Um, but I think that Mark should have been able to take those centipedes a little bit
Mm-hmm.
easier than he did, especially since the other animatronic. I'm gonna keep saying that. I don't know if that's the right term for them, but like the zombie cyborgs. The zombie cyborgs took a few down, and I'm like, okay, I think Mark should have kind of been able to rip through those because I don't know why he would hold back in that moment. If he's holding back against actual beings that have a soul, like we're talking about like humans or superheroes or aliens or something that he's valuing their life. He's not valuing that centipede's life. Like he probably should have just went straight through it. So that's my only complaint with the first episode is if the other guys were able to take him down, he should have been able to rip right through him.
Yeah, especially with what we see him do to the animatronics an episode later. Like
Exactly.
there's no point for that. I do think that has been a thing that we talked about a little bit when we were hanging out the other day. Is I think they are really, really trying to downplay Invincible's strength with that caveat of he's not going to cause harm. He doesn't want to hurt people. He doesn't want to do all these things, which I think is going to make the reveal when there is finally a threat in front of him that he can't negotiate with. He can't just get them to knock out, is what's going to make it so fun when we do see him kind of unleash, which is one of the things we got to see with Oliver a little bit. Is we did get to see Oliver lose control and kind of just show his raw strength that he has, and I thought that was a really fun scene, and that aspect I think is going to continue to play throughout this season. But I also felt the same way. I was like, we just got this training scene of Mark. He's like 130 something percent stronger, he's faster, but yet he can't take out these centipedes. And I was like, come on now, let's let him have a little bit of a moment to shine.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have his tough points throughout the season. We don't need to make him start losing the first battle we see him in season 3, in my
Yeah.
opinion. There's a meme going around that's like invincible. I'm invincible in every episode. It's like him just like beat the mess up and like broken bones and stuff, and I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, you touched on Oliver, wrecking the Mahler twins,
Yeah.
like almost on his first outing. How do you feel about the progression of Oliver and his strength?
I think it does align with what we've seen so far. And if you guys remember back in season 2, we do see that the bug people that he is, half of, he's half Viltrumite, half, I forget what the name, were they like the Flaxons or something like
Thorax?
that?
Yeah, Flaxens,
Something like
Thoraxens.
that.
I think it's
Thraxons,
Thoraxens.
maybe. Yeah, Thraxons. They do age extremely fast. And then you brought up a really good point that they are kind of bug people, and bug people, bugs generally are a lot stronger than their size actually permits. We used the reference of an ant. Ants are, what is it, some crazy amount can lift so much above their body weight that it's like, humanly and like most physically impossible for just about everything else. But it makes sense for a bug. So I think those are kind of cool things. They're kind of keeping it realistic in that fact. Like, yeah, he's a bug person. He also does age quicker. We know Viltrumites get stronger as they age. So I kind of like all those things. I just, again, it does bring us back to the fact that, like, they're showing right now, at least they're making us feel the fact that he's already stronger than Mark. And that's a little bit frustrating because obviously we know Mark's going to lose his cool at some point. We know we're going to get to see like a fully unlocked, Invincible. But like right now, it's like, like I kind of want to be a little bit more believable that he's not quite there yet. But it does align. And I do think it makes for an interesting story point when Invincible finally does lose his cool. We're going to be like, all right, that makes more sense. But like right now, it does feel just a little bit out of place.
Yeah, I would agree, especially with the Mahler twins, who have been shown time and time
Yeah.
again to do so much damage, even like with season 2 opener, right? The Mahler twins defeating Mark
Hmm.
completely and totally. And without Angstrom Levy's sacrifice, he would have completely probably lost his life in that moment.
Yeah.
So it is a little difficult to understand just how their influence is and how strong they are, and then getting one tap by Oliver.
Hmm.
Pretty crazy, an amazing moment. Don't get me wrong, very cool, very Omni-Man-esque. He's taking after his father for sure, even
Yep.
though he's barely known him, and I would say doesn't know him at all, because he was still a baby. But man, such a massive moment. And another Omni-Man esque portion of Nolan's sons, Mark. Mark had almost there was so many visual representations of him kind of going towards his father in these 3 episodes, but none were more than the Guardians of the Globe fight scene against those cyborgs. He like how Nolan killed the original Guardians in season 1 is exactly how Mark killed those after the sound wave stopped buzzing in his head. Like it was almost shot for shot, from the chop to the squishing the head like he did to Red Rush. It was pretty crazy. And then the cleanup, right? It kind of was like the last time the Guardians HQ looked like that was Nolan.
Hmm.
So that was an awesome scene and so much cool visual representation, so much cool reference pulling. And then, it's got to be a little traumatizing for Cecil to kind of see that and know, like he knows.
Yeah, and I thought that was like we talked about it. That's the scene that made that episode like top tier for me. Like it was finally Mark just like I've had enough of this. I'm angry. I'm just gonna kill every single one of these animatronics, and I loved it. Like I thought it was so cool. I love that representation, and it's just so fun to kind of see him doing the things that his dad did, knowing he does not want to be that, and he is fighting it so much, and he's been fighting it. But we have in the last, we saw it definitely in season 2 towards the end him kind of coming a little bit more around to the idea of what his dad was capable of and knowing that he can be those things if he can just get rid of the part of killing all the innocent humans and stuff. But no, I thought it was really cool to see that fight. Like it's just those are the scenes we want more of from Invincible. We want to see those. I think those have always been the times where we're most excited for him. It brought me back to season 2 when he's fighting the Viltrumites with his dad when they come to the Thraxans to kill him, and he finally is like, you know what? If I don't fight, I'm literally gonna die. And we see him almost kill one of the Viltrumites, and that's just more the stuff that we want to see. So I think that's what's got me so much more excited for this season. It's just I keep saying it, but we know we're gonna get there, and I'm super pumped for that.
Yeah. And man, talking about Nolan, I thought we might get a little bit more. Thought we might get a little bit more, but we did get your boy Alan. Dude, your boy Alan's looking beefy. What's your take on Alan season
Man,
3?
big man Allen, dude. That's all I got to say about him. He's just the best. I love his character so much. And I think we finally got to see what really I mean, we did see him take like a Viltrumite punch at full strength and kind of like shrug it off. Like he smiled about it when he realized that his head was still on his body. And then we get to see like the biggest laser ever. Like he even says it's going to have to be a pretty big laser. And then he's strapped into the chair and he's like, okay, that's a pretty big laser. But then he walks out of it pretty much unscathed. And even Omni Man, no one is surprised by the fact that he's still alive. So I think Alan is going to play a huge role moving forward in the series. And I'm starting to think the Viltrumites might be a little bit concerned of his strength level. If he was able to survive this crazy strong laser that they've had, that they've probably never had anyone else survive outside of maybe their own kind. So I'm excited to see what comes of Alan. I don't think he's one of those characters that are just going to keep locked away in their jail cell. He's too dangerous for that. And they got to think he's scheming or something if they know how strong he is and he hasn't even tried to escape yet. And I'm super excited for that storyline. And the storyline I'm also more excited about is something that happened in season 2 was we found out that the one Viltrumite, the guy that kind of saved Alan that went rogue, we see him rip off his beard and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you're a Viltrumite." I'm excited to see where that comes in. We have to have some storyline coming along with that at some point as well. Obviously, it appears as though he's a traitor. I don't think he's really a spy. I really do think he is a traitor to the Viltrumites. So there's a lot of fun things with that. Alan is going to be like a focal point of the story of, and you guys know how much I love Alan, so I'm all here for it.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to get that intergalactic council kind of involved and see where we're going with the overall arcing story because the stuff with Mark and Cecil is fun, but it's really little in comparison to a potential Viltrumite
Take
invasion,
it.
which
Yeah.
is coming. We know that they're going to be. Mark's tests have only just begun. He's going to have more. But yeah, no, I agree. I am excited to see when that guy comes in. And I wish I could predict it as well as when he got his new suit. Because I kind of killed that prediction.
Yeah, I don't think I really just, it's all up in the air, especially with how the episode 3 ended, with us getting a little bit of a sneak peek that there's another Angstrom Levy that's still around. Like, it's just so hard to predict where this story is going to go because we do have these two ginormous threats. We have the Angstrom Levy storyline with the multiverses, and we know that there's other evil Marks and Omni-Mans out there that could very much so potentially invade the Earth that we know and love. And then you do have this actual Viltrumite Empire that is looking to invade Earth. So it's really hard to predict the storyline, but I think that's what makes it so exciting is there are two huge threats, and we're kind of just waiting to see which one strikes first. So
I'm gonna be honest, dude. Angstrom leaving in season 3? Did I miss it?
you you didn't see him at the very end?
Dude, I think I missed it.
Oh no. So did you see the scene when Mark flies out of the room to catch the ball? The thing that's spying on him?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think at the very end of that episode, there it pans to Angstrom Levy is watching him on like a screen, and
Oh,
it's like him monitoring Mark.
I thought that was the diamond dude. I thought that
Oh,
was the
was it?
gangster.
I thought it was Angstrom Levy.
I thought it
Let's
was
see.
the diamond skin guy.
Let me see
It
here. Let me
might
see if
have
I can
been,
find.
but they had showed him earlier in the episode,
Yep.
and so
Let me
I
see.
thought it was him.
Oh, you might be right. Let me look though. Let me see if I can find it real quick. No, this says Angstrom Levy tease at the end of episode 3. So yeah, I think it was Angstrom Levy there at the end. Let me
Okay,
see.
okay, man, I thought that was the gangster.
I'm playing the clip right now, so let me see if it shows him. Um, I don't think it actually showed him. Where did I get the idea that it was Angstrom Levy? Maybe I heard his voice and assumed it was, but this is what people are saying on Twitter as well. So I think it
Okay,
was Angstrom Levy.
well, in X we trust, just kidding,
Right.
not at all. But that's okay. So Angstrom Levy, man, I did not get that. That's awesome. Um, so okay, that is a perfect segue into my next theory. So we all know that the Invincible title card is important. The
Yep.
first one we started to see it crack. The second one we started to see it change colors, and then this one we're seeing it flash different colors. And I think that means that by the end of this season, we are going to get introduced to a lot of different marks. I think that we are going to see a lot of evil marks in this season, and that is not going to be good for our boy.
Yeah, I love that theory, especially because like I think they've done a really cool job with that too. Because I think the first episode we see like the normal blue and yellow Invincible. Second episode was the black and blue, and it was the last one red and white,
Red and gray, yeah.
red and gray. So like the Omni Man colors. Like I've been excited to see that. So I like that theory. I actually really hadn't thought too much about why they were doing that, but I think that's a really good theory. I definitely think we're coming to some sort of alternate reality marks showing up. And I think that's going to be a real tough pill for Mark to swallow because he's not really been experienced to the evil that he has done in all these other universes. And I'm still kind of convinced that he might be the only Mark that is good.
Well,
So
that's
I
what
think,
they said, right? That he was the
is it
only
what they
one
said?
who, yeah, in season 2 they said he's the only one that didn't go with his dad, and that he's also the weakest one because every other one had been trained by his dad.
Yeah. So man, we're gonna have to see if Invincible actually lives up to the name when those guys start showing up.
Yeah, not looking great, I'm gonna be honest. But he's training. Maybe Cecil is a better trainer than Nolan.
uh, I don't know if the Cecil training routines are going to be happening anymore for a while. It seems like they're
You
pretty
don't
split up right now.
you don't think the iceberg in the water was preparing him for a Viltrumite?
Nah, I don't think that's enough
Not quite enough.
for what's on the way.
What about Rexplode? Do you think Rexplode's abs will help with 70 different marks coming through the screen?
Not unless some of those marks are girls and they think he's hot. I think that's about the only option that's going to actually help out there. That's been something we haven't really talked about is the prevalence, I feel like, of Rex in this season. Do you think that is like a good thing for Rex's character, or do you think that's kind of spelling disaster?
I think it's a bad thing for the language content of the show,
Yeah.
which is a little annoying that it's been as high as it has been this episode. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think we got to see him have his moment of death encounters last season, so I think he's going to be safe for a little bit. If he goes through the Lizard League, almost dies, and has that moment, and then he's okay, and then they do it again, it's not going to hit the same the second time through. So I do think that they're going to take a break from him being the one. I think they're just like, I think they know he's a good character
Mhm.
and that he's had a good development, and they really want to kind of put him front and center because has been one of those characters that went from a guy that we hate to a guy that we're happy is still around.
Yeah, see, I'm getting very much so vibes that they're trying to get us to love him just so they can pull that plug. I think I've been scarred by too many other shows. We just think about Penguin, right? We just saw how much we fell in love with the Penguin characters.
Dude,
And then,
don't talk about it. I don't want to be sad.
right, I think that's kind of what we're leading up to it. I don't know. I don't think it'll happen this season because I do agree with you. I think it's one of those things that we did just have it happen. We don't want it to become one of those things that like, oh, Rex is going to get really hurt again, but he'll live. I do think though at some point in the show, I think that's kind of why we start to get more scenes with him. I think that's also why we keep hearing him make such an big reference on his new self. He's trying to be a better guy. He's trying to be more likable. And then it's going to really hurt when he finally does get to that point where, like, oh, we love Rex. He's such a good guy. He saves people. You know, he's willing to die for somebody else. And then he does die. And I think that's that's the vibe I'm getting from it. I might be totally wrong, but that's just like, I'm like, maybe Penguin scarred me a little too much.
Unfortunately, I think that's actually a great theory. I think unfortunately you might be onto something, but I do think we're gonna have a few, hopefully, a few seasons we get
Yes,
a little
hopefully.
bit more with Rex. And we did see him in the well, did we see him in the future?
I don't remember. I need to go back and watch that
I know
scene
we saw Rex, but I think
because
that was Robot.
yeah, it's hard to tell though because Robot is Rex. Like Rudy did use Rex's
Right, DNA.
DNA, and I do think Eve calls him Rex in that scene. I think she says like "Shut up,
I
Rex" or
think
something like that.
yes, she does.
So, but again, it's like I think he was in Robot's suit too. So like maybe that was something he had to get into, like travel through time because
I
you
don't
know
know.
So I don't know, but I don't know. I just have this feeling that that's what they're setting up for our man Rex.
But that wasn't even their Rex, right? That's a
No,
different
but they
universe.
do
So,
mention that, yeah.
oh man, who knows? What a great first 3 episodes, man.
Yeah, it's so good to have like a good show back on TV. And we've been spoiled recently. I mean, we did just come off the Penguin, but when you have like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and then you have Invincible, like it does really show the duality and like the levels to animated projects that are really out there. So I'm so happy to have it back. I think it's been such a blast. Um I can't say any more good things about it. Like there's not really been something that they've done in these first 3 episodes that I've been disappointed in. And I know I said like Doc Seismic, give or take, who cares? But I just don't think there's been like a bad direction that they've gone so far, and I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, the only bad direction they went with for me is the cold opener to episode 3. I just, dude, it didn't need to have the alphabet soup opening. Like they could have just been two bros. They could have been a guy and a girl. Like, I it's so forced. It's so unneeded, and I think that's the only bad direction that we're having in the show is so much of that. But other than that, I would agree. Very, very good direction for the show. Very solid opening.
Now, is there any big predictions that you're expecting, not even super far into the future, like by the end of this season? Is there anything that
Hmm.
I know you hinted a little bit at, you think we're going to get lots of marks due to the title cards, which I think is a great theory, but is there something else that you think comes about in some form or fashion?
I think, not anything off the wall. I think in this season we're definitely going to see multiple marks. Which, if that was Angstrom Levy, I'm very interested. I'm just curious why they reintroduced that gangster dude in this episode 3 and then didn't show him anymore. That's interesting.
Well, they are using him to get out Duplicate's brother, which I
Right,
forget what his name was, and I feel
a
like that's going to
multiple,
be a storyline moving forward. Is
multiple.
Yeah, multiple, yeah. I think which is actually such a great name if you think about it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's such a great
duplicate and multiple.
duplicate multiple. But I think that's gonna be a thing. You know how we had the Lizard League and stuff for, the Guardians of the Globe last season? I think that we are gonna get a Civil War-esque fight with them. So I think multiple is gonna be part of, the Cecil group with Immortal, Duplicate, I forget what the one alien guy is. I forget what his name is, but
Oh,
I think we're gonna
Shapesmith,
Shapesmith. I think
dude,
he's
I love
that group.
Shapesmith.
He said I can't leave Cecil because I have a race car for a bed, which is just fantastic. Like can't argue
Now
that.
I say something.
Yeah, now I say something. But I do think that the reason that is going to take place is I think that maybe the gangster guys are going to be on Cecil's team just to even the numbers up a little bit, and we'll get to see them fight, team, right? Which is what Rex keeps calling themselves again. So I think that's more so what that storyline is for.
Okay.
That's why we got reintroduced to the gangsters a little bit, and I think we're going to leave Angstrom Levy and, the Viltrumites potentially to Invincible, which I think will be really,
Okay.
really well. I'll say Invincible and Cecil because I don't think Cecil's going to have a bone in his group's fight with Teen Team. I think he's still going to be looking at the bigger picture. He'll be dealing with potentially more marks with Invincible, with the Viltrumites if they show up. So that's my theory so far as to why they reintroduced the gangsters.
Okay. That makes sense. I'm glad that you um put that in there because that makes a lot of sense for me. But yeah, no, the only predictions I have is multiple marks this season, and that we see Alan and Nolan break out of jail. Like
Oh, so you do
nothing.
think that happens this season?
I think they break out this season. I think if
Okay.
they don't, it's a real miss for progressing the story, the overarching story forward. And I know that we're not getting this. We do have an end in sight. Robert Kirkman does say that like he is predicting a certain amount of seasons, so
Mhm.
it's not like he's just trying to drag it out as far as possible. So I think that's going to happen. What about you? Do you have any major predictions?
No, I think really just kind of the things I've said. I think we'll get that fight at some point. They did reference again at the beginning of the season when we talk about, I think it was Anissa was the Viltrumite that showed up that
Yeah,
tossed Mark around. And they're like, well, do you think he's strong enough to beat her now? And he says, yeah, we think so. But she referenced a much bigger threat. I'm interested to see if we get that bigger threat. I'm interested to see if the Viltrumites send somebody else out to check on Mark's progress with, getting Earth prepared for the Viltrumite Empire. That's kind of the thing I'm most interested in. I would really like to see. I think I just want to see Mark unleashed. I do want to see a Mark that is, you know, let's throw the no kill thing away right now. I have to do what I have to do to save Earth. That's what I want to see. So that's kind of my prediction. Is I hope we get that. I don't know if that's really much of a prediction. It's more so just a hope. But I hope that's where we ultimately get to. I would like to see potentially Omni Man show back up on Earth because we also got that season 2 ending where he says he misses his wife. And I think that would be a really fun dynamic with his wife seemingly have moved on. She's dating now. She did, tell the big secret of who Mark and Oliver are. So I think that would be really fun to kind of see what would happen if Nolan showed back up and kind of, says his sorry and gives his forgiveness and stuff, but find out she's moved on. I really wonder how he would take something like that.
yeah. Oh man, yeah. That's some emotional weight that I
Yeah.
am not looking forward to her having to deal with, because that is going to be awful. Like she finally starting to make some progress in her own life, already raising Oliver, which is a big enough burden as it is, and now going forward with trying to find somebody else. Yeah, nah, it's really really sad because we do know that Nolan's going to come back and he's going to, Debbie's going to have to deal with that, and that's sad.
Yeah, I don't know if she'll be as, forgiving as Mark was when he showed up at the Thraxons. I think
Mm,
she might
He
hold a little
didn't.
bit more of a grudge.
Yeah, he didn't call her a pet. I mean,
Yeah.
Mark a pet. He did
Yeah.
call her a pet. That's
Yeah, which is
something you
pretty rough.
probably don't get over. Like,
No.
oh, so you missed your puppy. Like
That's a crazy comment. But yeah, no, I'm interested to see. And there's just so many dynamics about this show. We did just touch on. I did double check. We'll have to do a little bit more research. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But if Angstrom Levy is back in the picture, if we have this pending Viltrumite Empire takeover, all these things are taking place right now. Not only is those things happening, but Mark is trying to teach Oliver the significance of life and why you can't just take it. Like, there's just so many good storylines playing right here, and I want to see how they all play out. And Invincible has done a great job of picking which storylines to go with, and even when they do have a couple of them going on at a time, it doesn't feel like one of them is ever shorted. So I'm excited to see what this rest of the season has in store.
yeah, they've balanced it well. I think you put it pretty eloquent there. I like how well they do with it. But I didn't know that Simi Lee was multi-ball.
I think I saw that on probably X or Instagram the next day. I saw him in the booth doing the thing. He did a fantastic, I saw one thing. Some people don't like the Invincible animation, which we and you both love it. I think it's awesome. Like, I think it looks really clean and fun. But I saw this one thing. It was like Invincible doesn't have the budget for the animation because they spend it on all these big name voice actors. And I was like, that's so true. This is probably like one of the most star-studded voice actors, like castings for a show I've ever seen for an animated project. I mean, they have a big name for everybody, which is really cool.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it shows like just how important it is to have
Good voice
top
actors.
like world class voice actors more
Yeah.
so than animation because we like how the animation looks, but it's not world breaking. Like it's
Mm-mm.
not like incredible. There was moments. I think the worst portion. I think there was one time in this episode one where I was like, okay, like they could have done a little better on the animation. Was when the stairs were running, but the characters weren't on
Yeah.
in front of the Declaration of Independence when they were
Yeah,
stealing
yeah.
that. I was like, that didn't look great. I was like,
Well, and it's one of those
uh,
things, like, you just touched on it. It is so much more important for the voice acting because, like, we love these characters and these sayings because of how good they sound, right? Like, it just always sounds so awesome hearing Omni-Man speak, and, like, I don't know, I love it. So, but I think that's a funny, like, little thing. They definitely could improve a little bit. One of the things I think it does a really good job of, and we talked about this with Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, is the scenes where they do the comic book thing and the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man are like the best parts of it. Like, we love that animation style. I think Invincible executes well on that just throughout the entire show. You know, the second episode when we see Mark in the White Room and we do see him finally get the thing when Rudy interferes with the frequency and he turns it off in Mark's head, we see like some really really good detailed shots of Mark while he's like ripping through those animatronics and he looks super good. And I think they do it well in the fact that like maybe not all the animation does need to be perfect, which they even joked about that in season 2. You like talking about the ways they like cut budget and stuff by using like just a still picture then just move it a little bit, but they do a really good job of when it's time for it to look good it does look good. So they've done, again, they balanced multiple stories really well and they've also balanced that really well.
yeah, for sure. Man, it's so good to be back. So
It
good
is.
to be back with Invincible, and we are excited for another episode to drop this week. We still have Severance dropping, which had a really interesting episode, kind of mind blowing. Not mind blowing in a great way. A lot of people are saying it's the best episode of television produced. I do not agree. So if anyone's watching Severance, hit me up and let me know what you thought about that because that was it was something. I'm not saying it was bad. It just was interesting. Um, so I know you finished the Last of Us. Are you
Yes.
watching anything else
We're
outside of
trying to figure
Invincible?
out, yeah, we're not watching anything right now. We're kind of looking through some stuff. We never finished the last season of Peaky Blinders, so we thought about going back to that, getting ready for the movie that's coming out soon. But no, we're kind of in between shows right now, trying to figure out what we're going to watch up next. Severance is on our list, but man, there's just so much stuff. I'm like, I don't know. We need to pick something sooner rather than later, so we aren't just wasting too much time.
Yeah, you can't waste time. Um, nah, it's okay. Sometimes you need some of that free time. You gotta have time for the things that are important. Doesn't always have to be watching a show.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so I as much as we love talking about this stuff, it is like fifth on the list of importance, maybe sixth. Yeah. So,
Except Invincible, it's number 2
three.
on that account.
All right. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for sticking with us and listening to Weekly Fix. We love doing this. We really enjoy it. So if you don't mind, if you enjoy it as well, drop a like or a review for us. Share it with some friends that may enjoy it. Did you watch the Invincible season 3 drop? And if so, what did you think about it? Reach out to us. Join us in the Discord. Get in the conversation. And guys, we hope to catch you next week in another episode of Weekly Fix.